There's something interesting that I wanted to talk about. I was going to talk about Tatsu's tweets and what he said about top players and everything. Although it's hard to talk about on stream. His timeline is just anime titties. So if I bring up his tweets on my stream, that's the real issue. God, there's so many anime titties on here. It's crazy. How can one man retweet so many? Is there enough time in the day? This is an interesting topic, and I figured we'd bring it up briefly at the start of the stream. Tatsu tweeted this. This got a lot of angry replies, and then a lot of people who supported it. So I wanted to talk about it on stream. But Tatsu says, nothing makes me cackle more than seeing a sponsored player lose in tournament to a random nobody while wearing his stupid looking sponsored jersey. How's defeat taste, my dude? You do this for a living, huh? This is a very mean tweet. I never really realized the wording of it's pretty, I think I can get behind the sentiment, but it's said in a really strange way. Then the next tweet is, LOL at the people getting tight about my tweet. Try not to hurt yourself reading into it too much. I'm just saying upsets are hype and that I love watching them. If you're a pro player and you gotta hustle, then keep it up. I respect the grind. That's me being 100% real with you. And then he says the jerseys look stupid. Okay, sometimes you lose. It'd be like that. Then the final tweet that was weird is, how many sponsored players do you see genuinely providing something of worth to the community, to the game, to the followers? Many are only obsessed with fame, clout, and self-interest. They show no love, no heart, yet we put these false idols on a pedestal. This one is strange. The thing is like, I think that this sentiment is awesome. I think upsets are dope. And I think that if you wanted to clarify that this tweet was like, hey man, don't get too upset at it. Upsets are cool. I don't mind that much. I think that this is a good start. It's a pretty funny tweet because talking about sponsored players losing to a random nobody and, oh, you do this for a living, blah, blah. The thing is like, how many players are really full-time in fighting games and play full-time? There's not that many, right? And they still do lose, obviously. Then you have like lots of players who are previously sponsored or been sponsored or who are sponsored players, but they don't play full time, right? They still have a job or something in the meantime. So I don't know. It's a little bit of a strange tweet. Fighting games are in a weird place because if you think about our community, we really don't have that many full-time professional players total. Of an open bracket, the amount total we do have is not very high. Then the amount of people we have who are sponsored players, they're picked up by teams, but they still have regular jobs, so they don't play as much. They just have the ability to travel and go different places. There's a lot of those. And then there's a lot of people who just play on their free time and travel a lot and are pretty good. They're not professional, they're semi-pro players, and they compete in fighting games. Fighting games will always have really good players that you don't know about or you don't hear about all the time. I get his sentiment here, and I get him saying this. Especially if you're a pro player and you gotta hustle, then keep it up. I respect that. That's me being real with you. I guess that's about wearing stupid jerseys and stuff, but then the how many genuinely provide something of worth, that's interesting because I think it brings up like, okay, there's a few different responses to this. There's people who are like, hey, pro players don't owe you shit. They just play the game professionally. What does that have to do with the community? Or what does that have to do with them providing value or providing followers or supporting the game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's also like, well, there's plenty of people who do those things. Maybe you don't see it all the time, but they stream or they make videos or they go to events and they're supporting their local community, or they do this, and this. I guess like the question is, how much are you supposed to do as a pro player? How much are you supposed to give back to the community, etc.? He lashed out on this. It's probably because so many people were replying to that other tweet that he felt like he was like, I gotta say something. These motherfuckers, this, and that. What did Brian have to say? I didn't read it. Oh, he's just talking about them bringing entertaining matches and stuff. Yeah, Tatsu used to be a sponsored player. He was one of the first sponsored players. One of my favorite things about the Tatsu tweet is him saying, hey, I was one of those players that used to be sponsored, and I didn't provide shit to the community. I'm just saying that people should be better, which I thought was interesting. And then there's that old Tatsu tweet. Somebody posted it in my Discord. The old Tatsu tweet. That's like some guy asking him to play games and saying he's a bitch because he didn't want to play them. And then Tatsu replying with, pro players don't owe you shit, bitch. That was like a year ago. How many sponsored players do you see? Blah, blah, blah. This is the tweet we just looked at. Then this one is, attention. I don't owe you shit as a pro player. Fuck off with this. With Leo Whitefang reading it. I get what Tatsu's saying. Like, Tatsu aside, you don't even have to think too much about the person saying it. I think it's interesting just to think about what players owe the community. Like, I've been saying a lot of people, hey, you guys should make more content. Hey, you guys should do more of this, and that. And like what players should be doing to help get themselves on teams, what they should be doing to get more people interested in what they're doing, to create more buzz about the stuff that they're on or they're making or their sponsors teams, or how to get more attention or exposure or turn that exposure into money through endorsements or sponsorships or whatever. So it's interesting to think like, what are these players doing for our community besides, you know, chasing fame, clout, and self-interest? I think it's interesting to me because I have had people before tell me that because I'm a vocal person in the community, it is my responsibility to address every issue that comes out in our community. It's my responsibility to tweet about all the negative things that happen in fighting games and bring it up to everybody that happens. So it's interesting to talk about like what you actually owe the community and what you're supposed to do versus what is actually real, you know? Remember when the Voldemort drama happened and everybody was like, did Voldemort do this? Did he do that? What happened? A lot of people were like, I don't see any of these people being vocal about, you know, Voldemort slapping people or Voldemort not slapping people or any of the information out there. And people were like, it's your responsibility to talk about it, whether it's happened or not, and like whether he did it. And I was like, dude, first of all, I wasn't fucking there. Second of all, I was waiting for Panda Global's statement to come out like every other person on the planet. And third of all, it's not actually my responsibility to bring it up or talk about it. Fourth of all, I like the fighting game community and I like fighting games because of the games. And there are important topics and drama and other stuff that comes up around it that is worth mentioning and that is worth talking about. But, you know, it's not my responsibility to talk about every fucking thing that comes out. Oh, you didn't get the Voldemort reference at first? Yeah, that's why I brought up Panda Global. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's complicated. There are some issues that are worth talking about. There's some that are not. And like the thing is for me is I always read all these issues and stuff, and I almost never comment on them or retweet about them or talk about them. Usually on my Twitter, I talk about fighting games, what I'm doing, what's up next. On my streams, I always talk about this shit. I always bring it up and talk about it on my streams. So usually whenever people are like, why don't you ever talk about it? I'm like, well, I do on my streams or my YouTube. So anyway, I was just thinking about that when I thought about what they're providing to the community and everything like that. An association? Probably not. Probably wouldn't work well in our community. We have too many different sub-communities in fighting games, you know? Anyway, it's an interesting conversation. I didn't want to get too deep into it because I figure we'll probably talk about it on the podcast. Who's that bitter-ass dude, K-Brad says. It's Tatsu, dude. You must remember Tatsu from Street Fighter 4. The same Tatsu that retweets anime titties. That's why I couldn't show his full timeline on stream. There's too much anime titty on there. I don't want to get banned from Twitch.